Call your sponsor.
Call you sponsor.
Call you sponsor.
Call you.
Call your.
Yeah, that is like for me like next level, because I've spent a lifetime focused on what everyone else was doing or not doing.
Right.
And to turn it inward,
Right.
is ugh.
Well, that's where the grief and loss comes in. And that's what happens with so many people that I work with is they've spent so much time abandoning themselves to look at what other people are doing that it becomes a reflex.
Yeah.
And it's an addiction. And it's like to retrain to say, no, I'm going in my body and these people get to feel whatever they want or think whatever they want. And it's a tall fucking order. It's a tall order.
That habit, for me, that habitual way of thinking is so ingrained. That groove is so deep.
Yeah. It's the drive to the grocery store with 20-foot embankments on either side. Like, no, you're telling me there's a different way to the store? No, there's not.
Yeah. Yeah. And that story and that narrative for me are so juicy and alluring.
Right.
And there's definitely a dopamine trip or some exhilaration there.
Yes. Look at them. They're not doing it right. Let's all look over there. They're definitely not doing it right. And I think, doesn't the big book, the 12 and 12 talk about that? That we're, looking, we need not look within.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. In 4, it talks about like that we've hidden the same same defects were so hidden that we've been pointing out in others.
Right. You spot it, you got it.
Yeah. And then 10 goes on to talk about the spiritual axiom, right? That's whenever I see it. Yeah. It's the same. Yeah.
And have you experienced, because I definitely have, and I'm sure I've done it, but of course it's 2020 vision when other people have done it. But I have experienced, like, let's say that somebody was gossiping, right? And I chose not to gossip. And then they came to me and were like, you're gossiping. And that's a terrible example, but it was only character defect I could think of right away. But where they are just blatantly accusing me of something that they are doing. And I've been able to have the wherewithal to realize, like, I'm a mirror for them. Like, and allow them to do it because they're not ready to see it for themselves. And again, I'm sure I've done this, but I can only recognize it when other people have done it.
Yeah, I can't think of a specific example, but this is what happens. I've seen it in myself and in others when it's like a 6, 7, 8 situation,
right,
where the stuff that I've been doing and how I've been harming people, it gets turned in on me, whether it's this blame or actually legit happening.
Right.
And then I get to distinguish and say, oh, that's not my side of the street, actually.
Exactly.
Yeah. Which is like, that's 8 for me, where I'm like, oh yeah, that's cray cray, and that is not my stuff. That's not my stuff. Not this time. Not this time.
I think I remember having 4 years and like having a friend that I really loved and adored just yelling at me for something I knew they were doing. And it was so cool. It was the first time I experienced myself being calm in that moment and realizing like they're working through something and I didn't make it about me. And I was able because my side of the street was so crystal clean that I was able to see, oh, this doesn't have anything to do with me. And this is their experience. And you know what? I was able to like be calm and help them. And a few days later, they were in a meeting with me and they said exactly what it says in the 12 and 12. And they were like, I was, pointing at her flaws because I actually had them. And I was like, she saw it. I mean, it was just such a cool miracle.
I'm so present these days with all these these miracles that are like surfacing. Because we're coming up on the end of the year, there's like a whole slew of people that are coming up on their 1-year anniversary. And it's been like just this like it's the joy, like it's in the book. Like it says, to see the light bulb go off, to see people grow and change, it's like becomes the bright spot.
Oh.
And it's like all of these awarenesses, like none of it would be happening if I was turning my will and life over to drugs and alcohol today.
Right. I love that. And also that I've been noticing, like, okay, this is my favorite time of year, right? From October to December 31st is my favorite time of year. And I've been noticing, like, wait, this is your favorite time of year. Like, take a moment, like, enjoy that you just saw lights on those trees, or enjoy that you're having a cup of hot cocoa, even though it's 86 fucking degrees here in LA. And just enjoy, listen to that music. Like, I've been taking the moments to go, if you say this is your favorite time of year, take a moment and pause and soak up this moment, because it's going to be depressing January soon.
So yeah, I guess, has it been your experience too that it's like it just keeps going, right? There's no there with grief. Like it's like I just want it to end at some point,
Well, and that's the thing, especially when somebody's going through like a loss of a person. And it's interesting to see the expectations we put on ourselves as when the grief should be over. And it's really nice to be on the side of having a conversation with someone and giving them permission. Like, there's no there. Like, this grief is going to hit you in waves, and you're not going to be able to control it. And just when you think, oh, that's probably it, I've probably cried enough, 2 days later, 2 hours later, 2 months later, it's going to hit you again. And it's one of those things where we don't get to control how and where it shows up and how we show up. And for me, okay. When I was just a few months sober and I'm working at this job, this is going to make me cry. And I'm working this job, and it's in downtown Dallas, and it's like at the ball tower, where all the tourists go, and everyone's so doing their business meeting and fake, and, just it's so shallow. And then it was also by a hospital. So sometimes, every once in a while, these people would come in that are grieving. Like, I could tell, like a brother and sister, or husband and wife, or parents. And they would come in, they would sit there, and they would just hold each other's hand. And like, I'd come over, and that was the table I wanted to stay at, because they were in grief, but they were also real. They were also like so grounded, more than anyone else at any of those tables who were talking about the stock market or what should we wear, any of that. Like, I wanted to be at that table because they were real. They were at the core.
I recently came across this. Have you ever heard of a death doula?
No, that sounds so interesting.
Yeah, so I should put the link. I came across this TED Talk this week, actually, where there's a birth doula that helps bring life into the world, right?
Yes.
With a midwife and, whatever, whether you're doing home birth or, they're like the in between, right? There's now called a death doula, which I ran into one many years ago, and they help facilitate death. And it's really just like this beautiful, like really heartwarming thing where there's like nothing left unsaid. They're there for the family and for the one that is leaving the physical plane, and it's
wow.
Yeah. So it's like everything's already set in order. Some of them, in some states you can actually, I think, bury the body if you want. I know that the one that I met in LA, they the kids have the option, if the person passes in the home, they can cleanse the body. As part of the ritual. Yeah. And then some people have they don't have like one of those really expensive caskets. They have one that like disintegrates, that's made out of cardboard. And depending upon the family, like everyone gets to do whatever they want, depending as long as it's like, legal in whatever state. But they've had it where like the kids and family have drawn messages on the casket as a way of grieving. I know that this person in their TED Talk said that one of their wishes was that anyone that came to the memorial would write their favorite memory. And then they would publish that into a book for their child when their child was of age.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
No, I have never heard of it. But you know what I would be so interested in? Just like with hospice workers, like talking to that person. What is the thing that you see most? Like, what about regrets? What have you learned about human life? Because someone who's that close to death or someone who's like that close to always giving birth, like they have some insight. They have something to tap into. I want to know what that is.
So there actually is this nurse. I read that book. I'm pulling it up. There's the 5 Regrets of the Dying. She's basically served in hospice in the UK. I'm going to pull it up and then I'll read them and then ask you the question based on these.
Yay.
She basically has helped numerous people pass from the physical plane. And they all, regardless what ethnicity, where they come from, how much they make, whatever, all of those things, she narrowed it down to 5 regrets. I'm going to read them to you.
Okay, great.
It's this, what is her name? Is it showing up here? Oh, we'll give her credit somewhere else. Sorry. But it is called 5 Regrets. I wish I had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me.
Oh.
That's 1. 2-ish is I wish I hadn't worked so hard. 3 is I wish I had the courage to express my feelings. 4 is I wish I had stayed in touch with my friends. 5 is I wish I had let myself be happier. So, Bonnie Ware is her name. Bronnie Ware, Ware. So my question at our final 5 is there which one or ones resonate with you the most?
Well, it's that I wish I would have stayed in touch with my friends, because there are people that the relationship went awry and my ego won't let me reach out to them for fear of rejection. And am I willing? I'm not willing. And yeah, that makes me really sad. And then also when it says like, I wish I would have been happier. I'm like, well, how do you do that? Like, how do you be happier? And I don't know. That's profound. What about you?
I mean, all of them. I wish I hadn't worked more. I mean, all of them. But the one today, because this is where I am in, I guess, my program and really consciously working on is I wish I had the courage to express my feelings. I'm really trying to practice, intimacy and vulnerability. And so that's like really just as I was reading them right now, that's the one that really is resonating in this moment, is to just be more expressive, to really, stay connected with where I am and to just share with people in a more intimate way.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Man, we are out here doing our damnedest. That's all I can say.
Wow. We did it again.
We did it again. It may be messy, but we're trudging the road.
We're definitely trudging tonight.
All right. Well, bitch, call your sponsor.
Call your sponsor. Thanks, Misty.
Your sponsor.
Bitch, call your sponsor.
Call your sponsor. Call your sponsor.
On Monday, send us an email with comments, questions, or concerns bcysponsor@gmail.com.
Don't forget to rate 5 stars.